All right, welcome everyone. I'm going to call to order the April 8th, 2019 Royal Oak City Commission meeting to order. We're going to begin with a invocation given by Commissioner LeVasseur, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand if you can. Thank you.
The legendary Ernie Harwell was famous for starting his first baseball broadcast of the Detroit Tigers spring with a quote from the Song of Solomon that we baseball fans simply refer to as the voice of the turtle. Of course, the turtle is not a reference to turtles as we know them today, but to turtle doves, songbirds that would not be heard during the winter months. Ernie would say, "Lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone, the flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of birds is come, and the voice of the turtle is heard in our land." May this bring to us all in this wonderful city much hope, inspiration, and happiness.
Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we get to item number 4, I'm going to take chair privilege here and move up item number 6 as the next item, the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Macy.
I'd like to move approval of the agenda with the addition of the resolution to authorize outside counsel to proceed as discussed in a closed session on the Nolan workers' compensation claim.
Motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Okay. Discussion on this motion? Call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Before we proceed to number 4 on the agenda, Mr. Gillum, I'd like you to make a few comments about, there's a lot of people here that came out tonight. I assume an interest of the development proposal on Catalpa to the now defunct Demos property. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit more for the public regarding that topic.
Yeah, Mayor and Commissioners, the report of the Planning Commission that was issued back in the end of March indicated that the City Commission would be considering a letter of intent tonight for the purchase of the city-owned parking lot north and west of the former Demos gas station site at 11 Mile, at Main and Catalpa. Since that report was prepared by the planning department staff and was posted on the website, there have been some changes in circumstance. Number one, the letter of intent that the city had initially received from the petitioners from Yesbick and Yesbick was modified. Second, last week, the city received a letter of intent from a different property owner over there indicating an interest in purchasing part of the parking lot property. So given the change in circumstances, we do have an amended agenda tonight, or an approved agenda tonight. The agenda does not include any additional action by the City Commission relative to the proposal to the letter of intent that was received from Yesbick and Yesbick for the parking lot property. So there will be no action that will be taken by the City Commission relative to that proposal tonight. The Planning Commission hearing that is scheduled for tomorrow night will be canceled. It is possible that that matter could be rescheduled for a different night, but at this point in time, there will be no action taken by the City Commission. That public hearing will not proceed, and the City Commission will be considering all of its options relative to that site in the near future.
Thank you, Mr. Gillum. All right. That brings us to item number 4, which is a proclamation designating April 16th, 2019 as Education and Sharing Day. Okay, there we go. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then hopefully you guys can say a few words after I read it. Of course. Okay, very good. Okay. This is a proclamation designating Tuesday, April 16th, 2019 as Education and Sharing Day. Whereas excellence in education is vital to the success of our nation and our city, and in Royal Oak, we seek the betterment of our citizens and look to instill each child and adolescent with a good education. And whereas, by preparing our students for the responsibilities and opportunities of the future, education develops the intellect through lessons in literacy, math, and science. And whereas, one example of tireless advocate for youth around the world was provided by the Rabbi Menachem Schneerson, and whereas the Rebbe taught that education should not be limited to the acquisition of knowledge and preparation for a career, but must also focus on building character and cultivating universal moral ethical values. And whereas in recognition of Rebbe's outstanding, lasting contributions toward improvements of world education, morality, and acts of charity, he was awarded the Congressional Gold Medal, and the United States Congress established his birth date as a national day to raise awareness and strengthen the education of our children. And whereas presidents of the United States, beginning with President Jimmy Carter in 1978, have paid recognition to Rebbe's vision each year, proclaiming an Education and Sharing Day USA that calls on American citizens to follow the example set by Rebbe and focus on education and betterment of society. And whereas the goal of Education and Sharing Day, in the words of Rebbe, is to put greater emphasis on the promotion of fundamental human rights and obligations of justice and morality, which were the basis of any human society. And now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Mayor Fournier, and the members of the Royal Oak City Commission hereby proclaim Tuesday, April 16, 2019, as Education and Sharing Day in the city of Royal Oak, and call upon government officials, educators, volunteers, and citizens to reach out to young people and work to create a better, brighter, and more hopeful future for all. It's my honor to present this to you. And, as you can see, it's very beautiful, but the dark lettering makes it hard to read in the middle.
Have to show them. I give them. Want to take a picture?
Is it freezing in here or is it me? It's freezing. It's 66.
You want to jump?
See back there? That sounds like a good idea. Maybe Deanna can. We're freezing.
I believe I'm taking them. Is this an iPhone?
Yeah, this mic or that mic. They're both hot.
Face them.
They're trying to train me to use this one right here, and I failed most of the time.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I'm Rabbi Moshe. We just moved to Royal Oak with Mushki, my wife, beautiful wife. So education, usually when we think about education, first thing that comes to mind is teachers, a lot of books, tests, many hours in classrooms. But of course, they're all very important and good, but it's just a part of education, one part of education. Our responsibility for education, for our children, our students, it's not just for academic education. We want to make sure that our children and students will be good people and kind people, and of course that these kids will be the leaders of tomorrow. They will have the right values, and of course to build a good society and safe society. The Rebbe, which we just read about him, inspired many parents and teachers around the world and of course in this country to invest even more in education, to give our children and students moral values, and to make sure we build a good and safe world for all of us. In honor of the Rebbe's efforts to better education, the government, the president, together with the Congress and many states and cities in the United States, since 1978, honor the Rebbe, we celebrate his birthday, which is next week, Tuesday, April 16, as National Education and Sharing Day. They called all of the citizens, parents, and of course teachers, schools, to invest more in education. And we're glad that this year, for the very first time, our city joined this special day, special campaign. May God bless all of us to success in this special mission. And thank you again.
All right, that brings us to item number 5, which is public comment. Before we begin, just a few comments related to public comment. The City Commission values and relies on the input of our fellow citizens to make decisions. Now is the time set aside for the public to address the City Commission on any city-related issues, both on the agenda and not. As there are no other public hearings scheduled for tonight's meetings, this will be the only time for the public to address the City Commission. I ask that your comments be directed to the City Commission as a whole and not to individual city commissioners. If you wish to speak tonight at public comment, please wait until recognized by me, the mayor. Come up to the podium. For the record, we are going to ask you to state your name and address. Please be mindful that the City Commission wishes to hear from as many people as possible and from whoever wishes to speak tonight. So comments are limited to 3 minutes or less. And there's a timer right here at the podium to help you keep track of your time. If you don't wish to speak tonight, that's all right. You can email us at any time with your concerns and questions, and we get them regularly and we read them. Please note that the City Commission will not respond directly to questions during public comment. However, we are taking notes and will address the questions when the agenda topic is discussed, or if it's not on the agenda tonight, we'll refer it to the proper city department, and our city manager will address it accordingly. So with that, who's first? Mr. Wolf.
Ron Wolf, 333 North Troy Street. I'm holding in my hand a New York paper called The Villager. And as you know, New York is having a big problem with development. And this lady here is holding a sign. It says, New York City, rise up. Stop de Blasio, the mayor, and his current real estate allies. So you see, nothing changes. With just that this place may change, but basically government does not change. The greedy will continue to be greedy and want it all, and those that don't have anything to offer them are last in line holding a cup. Now, this brings me to the fact that tonight, you obviously knew there's going to be an organizing of resistors to this development. To me, I'm for development like this, but this is the worst possible location. I used to drive the Long Island Expressway, and it was horrible. I don't know if you know what a bottleneck is, but the Long Island Expressway was one huge bottleneck. Now, you have to see into the future how Royal Oak is growing. You put this thing here, and you got Crooks Road, intersecting Rochester Road, intersecting Catalpa with people coming off Woodward, all coming home during the rush hour. This is the worst place to put a concentrated development of more than one or two businesses. This is a disaster. I would rather see this development go where Superior Fish is, and they could make it a multi-million-dollar condo there, because that property is so valuable in my eyes. You're right across from the farmer's market, next to the library, next to City Hall, next to the police station, next to your downtown. You can probably ask for more than $500,000 for each of those condos. So I would suggest you look into rezoning Superior Fish and allowing that person, to bring in condos, because that would bring in money to the city. This thing now, what I'm afraid of is If it's not this person, it'll be the next person, because I really feel honestly saying that that all government is, by its nature, it has corruption in it, and if it's not this group, it's going to be another group. I believe Mr. Johnson just wants to bring in development to make sure that the coffers stays full to a certain level and damn the consequences, because he cannot, he will not see Royal go into debt under his watch. But after he leaves, what are we going to be left with? That is the question.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Wolf. All right, I see a hand in the back, red shirt. I can't see the face, I can just see a sleeve. Oh, Miss Hennessy.
I don't think they understand what happened.
Carol Hennessy, 258 East 12 Mile Road, Royal Oak. I am representing the Royal Oak Memorial Society, asking for volunteers to help clean veterans' graves at Oakview Cemetery. We are asking for students, scout troops, church groups, anyone who would like to come and help. We clean away the grass from the headstones and wipe them clean. We will be doing this on May 4th and May 11th at 10 a.m. at the Oakview Cemetery at Rochester, Catalpa, Gardenia, Main intersection there. It's the big one. A lot of people get confused, so I wanted to explain that. We will meet just inside the cemetery, just past the pond. You can stay as long as you like. Bring tools with you to help clean around the headstones. Weed whackers work very well. Brooms or rags help with the cleaning off of the headstones after removing the grass. And like I said, we'll be doing those the first 2 weekends in May on Saturday. And then on the last Saturday in May, May 25th, save that date, at 10 a.m., we will be placing flags on all the veterans' graves. Everyone is invited. We supply the flags, so hope you can join us, and the more we have, the more headstones we can get to. If you need any more information, you can contact me at 248-543-8420. I have to comment on a couple things. I believe it was stated at a past commission meeting that it was too expensive to put a traffic light on Main Street by the senior apartments so that they can cross safely. Well, how is it not too expensive to put one on Main Street just south of 12 Mile for the bikers? We have more people trying to cross on Main Street downtown than we have bikers on Main near 12 Mile, where the side street dead ends at the cemetery. Also, the parking at Farmers Market. The east side of the market has only one lane of parking now. It was full on last Friday for the craft show. The west side of the market was gated up on the south side, but on the north side, it was partially blocked by a gate with a sign saying, "Special event at the market." Since I need handicap, I went in there and found a handicap spot. I walked into the market and was told that this lot I just parked in closed at 4 p.m. for the valet parking. The special event at the market was open till 10 p.m. So where were the handicapped customers supposed to park? All I heard from this body is that there's plenty of parking. Yes, 3 or 4 blocks away. Handicapped people can't walk that far if they are going to the market.
Ms. Hennessy, I do need you to finish your final point. I'm going to be pretty abrupt with everyone tonight.
I will. You need to start taking care of the seniors and the handicapped.
Thank you, Ms. Hennessy. Just one rule of order, everyone. You know, we have a policy here that, you know, this isn't our meeting, it's everybody's meeting, and there are a lot of people here to discuss many different issues. And we just ask that you hold off on applause because it can affect whether or not people want to speak or tell an opposing opinion, okay? So out of respect for everybody here that may have a different opinion than you or whatever, please hold off on your applause. Yes, ma'am, back here in the blue. Yes.
Good evening, Terry Myers, 1915 Roland Avenue. I have an editorial with me tonight which was written in the local paper, Patch. It was written in 2012. It gives us a flavor for what is about to occur tonight, 7 years later. The title of the article is Downtown More Than Meets the Eye. The downtown is somewhat complex, with more activity occurring than meets the eye. With items suddenly appearing on the agenda in closed-door meetings, by definition, more is occurring than meets the eye. The article talks about the expansion of liquor license and conduct of the city council. Again, conduct of the city council. I will now start reading the last half of the editorial. The only data that I can find to explain the actions of Mayor Ellison and Commissioners Razor Dubuc and Fourniers involving liquor license are the campaign contributions they received from individuals related to bars. During the last election cycle, and in addition to legally reported contributions, approximately $20,000 was spent by secretive anonymous special interests that benefit the then candidates Fournier and Dubuc. Eyebrows were raised when individuals related to Fifth Avenue contributed about $6,500, most of it going to Dubuc and Fournier. The City Commission reached a new low when Anthony Yesbick, proprietor of Fifth Avenue, walked into a recent City Commission meeting and, without even being on the agenda, asked for and was granted a permit for a special event to be held at Fifth Avenue. The city requires comprehensive written permit applications weeks in advance to allow time for scrutiny and modifications. But Mr. Yesbick received very special, unprecedented treatment. Even worse, Mr. Yesbick's item was added to the end of the agenda, the last item to be discussed that evening. Then later, during the meeting, the item was moved ahead so Mr. Yesbick would not have to wait. In my opinion, when you treat people differently, you are opening up our city to lawsuits which will unnecessarily cost the city tens of thousands of dollars. Treat people the same. Open the discussion to the public for all to see and hear. Stop doing closed-door discussions out of the public light for the friends and contributors of the mayor and council. Stop damaging some businesses for the benefit of others. Tonight is the night we can start behaving ethically and be respected by all, not just a handful for the wrong reasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Mr. Black.
Hello. Thank you, Mayor Fournier and city commissioners. My name is Jacob Schaefer, and I live on 2633 Bembridge Road, and I'm just here to say hi. Thank you, Mayor Fournier and city commissioners. My name is Gabriel Schaefer, and I live at 2633 Bembridge Road, and I'm just here to say hi.
Hi, guys. My name is Jeff Blackta as well. Thank you, Mayor Fournier and City Commissioners. I got my two little partners here, but I'm here to, let me give you my address as well, 2621 Bembridge Road, Royal Oak. I am a member of the city's Parks and Recreation Advisory Board and chairperson of the Senior Task Force, Aging in Place Task Force. And for those of you who may not know, last year the Royal Oak City Commission created the Senior Services Aging in Place Task Force specifically to address the issues and concerns facing seniors in our community. And one of the many goals of this task force is to make Royal Oak a more livable place for people of all ages. And this evening, I'm here in my capacity as chairperson of the Senior Task Force just to let you know what we've accomplished so far and have some requests of you. One, as you might know, we have successfully applied to the AARP Network of Age-Friendly Communities, the World Health Organization Global Network of Age-Friendly Communities, and we are following a template put out by the AARP Livable City Initiative. Internally as a task force, we've debated what is the purpose of our senior task force. The answer is to effectively administer the City Livable Initiative to get this thing done, accomplished effectively. Through public comment, we have shared our concerns with the Downtown Development Authority about our concerns about the challenges with parking for people with mobility challenges and seniors in our community, and they were very responsive and listened to our concerns. last week, Thursday, April 4th, we had our age-friendly community kickoff at the Senior Center. We had about 50 participants. It was very actively participated. We had a lot of passionate people in the audience, and a lot of people letting us know that they want to participate. So that's what we've done so far. Now my request comes to you, and it's what we're doing next. We have 6 public forums coming up. I have some dates here. Would you share that with them up there? 6 forums coming up, and these forums, we will be discussing the 8 pillars of the AARP initiative. They address all issues about living in a community facing seniors. And my request of the city commissioners and leaders in our community is to participate in this as facilitators or scribes at our events. So we'll be having calendars coming out. We'll be requesting you to attend. We will also be looking for people in the government to participate as well. Lastly, I just want to thank you for the commitment you've done to this. You've given us James Curzon, who is assistant to the city manager, Paige Jermansky, who is the coordinator for senior services, and the fellow, Ian Hatch. They provided great services to us and helped made us our event success. And with that, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blackton. Mr. Ashley.
My name is Alan Ashley. I live at Royal Oak Manor. At this time, I would like to thank Reverend Preston Boyd, Alex Williams, if he's here, and the congregation of the Mission Chapel AME Church and at 4207 West 14 Mile in Royal Oak. Last Tuesday, they felt compassion, something that I've been complaining to this city for over a year, to reduce parking from 45 to 25. They wrote a $1,200 check to the city to cover the $20 for April and May. They felt compassion and understand the plight of seniors here in Royal Oak. It seems that this city commission does not. They have not done it. We've been asking for a reduction, and all I get is the city commission sitting on their hands. This brings me to my second point, which is parking. I've been requesting parking because what's happening soon is that when the parking lot 7, which is between 6th and 7th on Main Street, goes under construction, I will have 25 cars to park, and there's no place to park. I've asked the DDA, I've asked the infrastructure, I've gone to every committee here that deals with parking in the city, and I've been told the same thing. Go talk to the city commission, they have the decision. You have not made a decision in a year and a half, and you know about this stuff. You've been eating up parking lots for parking garages and have done nothing. Royal Oak Manor is not leaving. We are overhauling the building. Next year, we'll be spending somewhere over $1 million refurbishing the building inside and out, also extending our parking lot for 13 more spaces, which will go to the reasonable accommodation people. Other than that, we have no more parking places. What are you going to do, City Commission? I've asked you every time up here about Dumbarton, and I get the same look. Deer in the headlights. And as I walk away, I've looked at repeats, and all you people do is roll your eyes and say, well, there goes that guy again. Well, we're here, and we're not leaving, and you'll be seeing me often about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ashley. Just a quick reminder, Mr. Wolf, I think you know the rules as well. Mr. Wolf, you're out of order. Yes, ma'am, here on the. Mr. Wolf, please, be respectful. Ma'am? Right here in the corner, yes. Or not the corner, but it's hard to tell.
Hi, Pamela Lindell, 409 Inglewood Avenue, Royal Oak. I just came from a board meeting, Friends of the Royal Oak Library. So you guys know that they're ripping up the library. They're taking our parking lot that the volunteers park in, the well. That's where they're gonna put all their equipment. So we need to figure something out for these people. With the contractors utilizing the parking well, they have nowhere to park, and not all of our volunteers are mobile enough to schlep from a structure, even across the street. Why should we burden these volunteers with this inconvenience. I would propose those individual volunteers who need close parking to be afforded the same parking pass as the city officials get. Committee members also get it, given until the repairs are completed and they can once again park in the library well. We also discussed our used bookstore. That bookstore generates a minimum of $1,000 a month. If our volunteers can't show up to run it and peddle our books, the library requires from us, the friends, the worker bees, a minimum of $3,000 to $7,000 a month to cover their program costs. So between the shop not being able to be open, that's $1,000. We're in the hole $1,000 from the last book sale. We have people that come in every day and sort books, scan books, and sell books online. Some of them are a couple of bucks. Most of the time, it's 50 cents on a dollar. That's a lot of books. That's a lot of books, and we're paying for everything at the library. I think I covered all that. Oh, and now I'm going to get to an environmental issue. Are the city officials going to make public the DEQ environmental site reporting concerning this old demo property? What's the extent of the contamination? Is it leaking out of these metal tanks? The city should let everybody know, especially the people that live in that area, what the cost is going to be, the removal, the cleanup of the site, and anything that may incur the disruption of traffic, if this contamination is spread underneath these surface streets. So now everybody's going to have to be rerouted up and down our little residential neighborhoods that are already packed and you can't park on both sides of them. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lindell. Yes, sir, in the front.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Scott Galloway. Thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. I'm an attorney with the law firm of Galloway and Collins. Our address is 26075 Woodward Avenue, Suite 200, Huntington Woods, Michigan 48070. I appear tonight on behalf of Adelphia Properties, Royal Oak, the owner of 1019 North Main Street. It's the Jazzercise building. And in light of the events earlier this evening, I won't go through my whole prepared comments, but my client, Christine Rapanos, the sole member of the company, is very interested in what happens at that property, the public parking lot, and of course her neighbor there on the corner. And she would like to present to you a non-binding letter of intent of her own to purchase the city-owned parking lot. And we understand that plans may be changing relative to the parking lot, and whether this is an interesting offer to you or not, we just would ask that whatever process takes place be open, public, transparent, so that you can get participation of all stakeholders that are interested in that property. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity. I'll pass this to the clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Galloway. All right. Yes, ma'am.
Monica McCabe, 1607 West Houstonia Avenue. I have spoken to several departments. I just want to say that last summer, an absolutely inordinate amount of trees have been cut down out of my beautiful neighborhood, Northwood Boulevard. I walk between Houstonia and Webster and Fernley, and there are so many gigantic trees just being cut down, and many of them did not look diseased. I would ask that you please think about what you're doing. I'm someone that would almost prefer a dirt road than taking down a tree. I have a gigantic, beautiful old silver maple that I've been taking care of for 27 years, and it's getting taken down because the contractors, I guess, can't be careful enough when they cut to put in new curbs. If I were the mayor, I'd say find contractors that respect our big trees. This is what we love about Royal Oak. This is why I bought in this town. I was dating a guy who took me riding bikes through that neighborhood, and I was like, oh, wow, I like this. And I bought a nice little house there, and I'm very happy to have been able to enjoy it. When I first got the property, there were 3 gigantic trees on it. One of them, a limb fell, and my neighbor was disturbed about it, thought it was the tree was in trouble, and it was taken down, and there was no there was no damage in the middle of the trunk. It was probably 4 feet in diameter, and it was really healthy. And now this tree, you just have to understand, I'm traumatized. With global warming and what's going on with trees, we need all the umbrella coverage we can get. I was told there were 688 trees planted, but nobody knows where they were planted, what was planted. Could you please look at our neighborhoods where you take them out and try to give us decent trees? It takes grinding out where the big old ones were, putting in new soil, everything that's necessary to, bring the neighborhood back to where it was, 100 years ago when they lined these beautiful streets with these wonderful trees. I'm very sad that this is happening, and if I had known about it earlier, I would have come last year. I have a friend that lives on Fernley, and he was flipping out at all the trees that are gone, and I really didn't notice until he showed it to me. I just want to say that Stella McCartney bought 20,000 trees for Miami. We have to get it together. We need our trees. And, you're talking about parking structures and everything. I care about our trees.
Ms. McCabe, we do as well. If you could, I made a note, but it'd be helpful if you could email us, and maybe if you can snap a picture, that'd be great too.
Of my tree?
Yeah.
I've got pictures of it here.
Yeah, can you submit them to the deputy clerk?
It's going. They're
Okay.
getting rid of it.
All right, then, okay.
I can't do I would like to do something about it. I would like to do something about the one
Sure.
across the street.
I just asked if you could send it. Maybe we can help still. So that's all.
I would love to.
Thank you, Ms. McCabe.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. I can see a hand right here. Yes.
My name is Catherine Howell. My husband Larry and I are 45-year residents of Royal Oak. We have owned 2 homes in this community. Our current address is 1026 Pinehurst Avenue. Now, before I proceed, I know we're not supposed to talk back and forth, but I just saw it happen. So I want to make sure I understand something clearly, that there will be nothing discussed tonight at this table about the sale of the parking lot at Main and Catalpa, and that additionally, it will be removed from the agenda tomorrow night at the Planning Commission.
You
Thank
understand
you.
correctly.
That it lifts a burden off my shoulders. I am heartened to hear the wisdom in what you are doing. I was not prepared for that wisdom, and I choose to read what I wrote anyway.
Ms. Howell has the floor, ladies and gentlemen.
It's all right. I am here this evening to address item 6 on tonight's agenda. That item is approval of agenda. I am sure you are all aware of tomorrow night's Planning Commission meeting, where the first item under the new business is a public hearing regarding a proposal to build a 5-story building on the site of a former automobile filling station on the northwest corner of Main and Catalpa. The proposal also includes the construction of a 2-level parking structure adjacent to the proposed building on what is now a city-owned parking lot. To my knowledge, the city has never considered the sale of the parking lot in question. In essence, we have an aggressive outsider coming into our community wanting to purchase a piece of public property without that property ever having been on the market. You have just come from a closed session meeting. I do not know if the proposed building and parking structure were discussed at your closed meeting. It is my understanding that you have the prerogative by vote to add an item to tonight's agenda. You also have the right to pass motions regarding agenda items. Now to my point. Should you add the sale of the parking lot to the agenda, or worse yet, pass any motions regarding such a sale, all by doing so without prior notice to the public and the opportunity for public comment, you would be guilty of chicanery and will have broken a sacred trust with the voters of Royal Oak who elected you. I thank you for hanging on to that sacred trust.
Thank you, Ms. Howe. Ms. Maggs.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Commission. My name is Jennifer Rosbach. 19 years ago, my husband and I moved to Royal Oak. It was a good in-between for our families. We started a family of our own, and Royal Oak schools closed down an elementary down the street. And that began my listening role in this city regarding the changes of the community and government policies. In 2005, we had a choice to move because we had one child and one on the way, to stay in Royal Oak or move. We chose to stay within our neighborhood and move a few streets over. We knew that the schools had a way forward, even if it killed my idyllic dream of walking my kids to school. We stayed through the recession that almost doomed us and the schools, but they had a way forward without sacrificing it sacrificing the educational setting. We stayed because we saw downtown start to stabilize and rental properties became permanent homes and schools started growing again. I have a sophomore and a middle schooler, and I have to tell you, they're both excited about what's happening downtown. They love walking down here after school. They love hanging out. This should send a strong message to everyone in the community that the future looks bright for these kids. And this is what we're planning for. So instead of living in the past and complaining about the future, the Rosbachs have chosen to embrace it and use our voice to help you move forward. So I thank you for all that you do in keeping the city moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosbach. I think Mr. Curtis has had his hand up there for a while.
Curtis, 226 West Bloomfield Avenue, and I just violated a principle of communication by giving out the handout before I'm ready to have you look at it, so I apologize, but I didn't want to be. We'll get to that in just a minute, thank you. I stopped by to commend and encourage the commission for having the right priorities, plans, and how it's paying off for Royal Oakers, and I wanted to say thank you for that. When I talk about the right priorities, I mean how placemaking and walkability has become a really significant priority for this commission. It's working and it's bringing foot traffic to our downtown businesses, and that's great. And the reason it's working is because the culture really desires walkability. It turns out 71% of millennials, so I'm a real estate broker by trade, so I think about these things a lot. 71% of millennials choose their living space based upon walkability, but it's not just millennials. Boomers, yes, and I am in that category. 50% say of boomers are going to downsize as they retire, and many, even close to 50%, say that of those say that they'll be looking for condominiums and apartments with amenities within walking distance of the front door. It is culturally correct to be putting these priorities out today. And you're doing it in a competitive place. Projects are being announced all over Detroit, in Ferndale, in Birmingham, even Oak Park and Hazel Park are doing developments. So you've done the right thing by striking while the irons are hot and making progress quickly. Good on you. Good on you. And the plan is working. The plan of developing 180,000 square feet, the goal is 180,000 square feet of Class A office space within the downtown footprint, and that goal will be met and exceeded, I believe, very soon. It is bringing what we want to our community. Good on you, good on you. And it's paying off. And I ask you to look at that handout. As a residential real estate broker, there's a couple of ways it's paying off. What you see there are a couple of graphs. One of them says the median sales price of homes in Royal Oak before what I call the crash of 2008 was below the Oakland County median, but above the general metro area. But you see, as we've come out of the crash, you see that Royal Oak has drawn even and even begun to exceed a little bit the Oakland County median. Good on you. Flip the page. It isn't just because of bigger homes. It's also because of price per square foot. Good on you. You've done a great job. And now we're attracting private and wonderful housing developments as a result. Sing, Billings Place, the Catalpa, Maine proposal, all wonderful walkable spaces. Good on you.
Thank you. Ms. Morales.
Good evening. My name is Belen Morales, and I have a business in Royal Oak and a home in Royal Oak, so I'm going to give you my business address. It's 25892 Woodward. So I'm here today just to share a story. My father-in-law, I think he's 74, he's a former Royal Oak Police lieutenant. And recently I told him, hey, Jerry, did you hear that Royal Oak's getting a new police station? He's like, it's about damn time, because it was old when I was a lieutenant. So I just want to say that thank you for doing that, for giving our law enforcement a clean place to work, a new place to work. I think they deserve to have a nice building to work in. So thanks, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morales. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commissioner. My name is Rick Vincent. I live at 2443 Ferncliff here in Royal Oak. I'm a former assessor with the city of Royal Oak, so I've been here for 24 years. I'm here tonight for some clarification. There seems to be a lot of confusion about what's supposed to happen at the golf course. I'm a golf course person. I love golf. Sometimes golf doesn't love me, but I love it. I'm very appreciative of what happened back 2 weeks ago. This commission approved some enhancements that are going to happen there with cart paths and paving. That's great. But the confusion comes in with, it started with me when I heard Commissioner Macy talk about a $3.8 million sale, $3 million being used as a park development, and the remainder going to the Royal Oak Golf Course. Last week a lot of things were said about little gems in this town. Royal Oak Golf Course used to be a jewel in this town, not just a little gem. And we had a rough time there for a number of years, and it really went down the tubes. It's coming back. It's got a long ways to go. And after that comment was made by Commissioner Macy, I saw Mr. Rassel with this perplexed look on his face. And then Mr. Johnson volunteered to comment on that. And I believe his comment was, I don't believe $700,000 was earmarked. I set aside $250,000. Well, okay, so we had a difference of opinion. But then I have a lot of golf buddies at Royal Oak, and I've been my butt kicked for this last week. A number of people have come to me and said, what's going on? Did you see the Royal Oak Review? That's what this is, copy, if anybody hadn't seen it. In the Royal Oak Review, it's quoting Mr. Johnson as saying exactly what Ms. Macy said, that once that Normandy Oaks was sold, of the $3.8 million, $700,000 would be going to the Royal Oak Golf Course. Now, I understand there was $100,000 already spent for, I don't know, development plans or whatever. I get that. Well, that gets us right back to the $700,000. So I'm not sure what's going on here. But it's hard for me as a former employee and someone who's been here for a long time to explain to people that we promised that something was going to happen at Royal Oak. And it hasn't happened for, what, 5 years? How long's it been? And now we're finally getting something done, but I think we're a long ways away from where we need to be. Royal Oak Golf Course, if you compare to the city of Southfield, the city of Troy, or even Red Oaks over here in Madison Heights, we don't even hold a candle. We're not even close. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for what's going on in this town, all the new development, all the changes. I know I'm almost done. But let's not neglect something that we once had and not take care of it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Metz. Yes, sir.
I'm John Romo. I live at 806 Catalpa. And, I'll be brief. I just wanted to say I think the city's headed in a really good direction. There are some things we have to work through. Once the new parking garage is up in 2 or 3 months, I think that's going to solve a lot of problems. And I don't hear it mentioned much, but when that's built and open for the first time, those going to the library will have 2 hours of free parking if they, get their ticket punched before 4:59 in the afternoon. They're going to have 2 hours of free parking. That's something we haven't had before. I'm a boomer. I love to walk the city. I'm walking all the time. I see the changes that have taken place, and I just really think today was a great example of that. The first really warm day. In Catalpa, you see the whole city walking back and forth, just all ages, and I don't think you see that too many places in the state. So I think you've done a really good job of balancing development with, the needs of all ages of people in this town. And, I was, a couple of months ago, I was at one of my favorite watering holes in the town, and I was talking to somebody, and he said, in the 80s, Washington Avenue was basically tumbleweeds. We had to make changes then. I think we have to make changes now, and you are. And, this development, I don't think people extol it enough of Ford coming into the downtown of this city. I mean, it's like having a big anchor store at a mall, and increasing foot traffic and helping to maintain and bring business in. Any town in this state would have just loved to have that, and we have it, and I think it's going to be a really great thing for the town. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Romo. See a fast hand in the back. We give courtesy to the jumper.
Good evening. My name is Laura Foss. I live at 1413 Butternut. I'm a mother of 2 toddlers, an elementary school teacher in Royal Oak, and I've lived here for 29 years. Like many others here tonight, I've come to express my concern regarding the proposed development by Mr. Yesbick. My concern over the proposed development isn't about resisting change or resisting development in the area. It's about protecting a community within Royal Oak itself. It's about ensuring that developers and the city respect existing, thriving businesses that add value to Royal Oak. I'm sorry, I lost my place. And that PUDs are used appropriately. It's about having common sense and ensuring that the scale of new development is appropriate and mutually beneficial for everyone. It concerns me that something that can be so impactful, not only in my own life, but to my friends, our community, and your constituents is being negotiated behind closed doors. Who on this commission is a real estate valuation expert, or what third-party company was used to accurately evaluate what a fair market price is for that parking facility? Furthermore, who has relevant transactional experience to opine on business terms of a contract transferring ownership to a private entity? Both of these factors are increasingly complicated given the development implications and associated negative impact on surrounding businesses. The circumvention of formal process is unethical. The removal of these parking spaces not only significantly devalues the businesses that rely on them, but also compromises the investment value of the real estate itself. By negotiating in private and not engaging in a formal marketing process, you're unjustly enriching a developer that you have documented financial ties to at the cost of neighboring businesses and community members. This will undoubtedly result in lawsuits and drawn-out litigation, the cost of which is shouldered by us, the members of the community that were negatively impacted in the first place. Being an educator in Royal Oak, it disturbs me that while I'm teaching my students about the responsibilities that government officials have to their constituents, in our own backyard, this commission is acting in its own best interests at the detriment of the local businesses and community members that you serve. I sincerely hope that the city officials and planning commission are not willing to overlook our own community's master plan. It clearly states under neighborhood preservation, new development projects, if not properly done, can have a dramatic impact on the character and viability of existing neighborhoods. I strongly believe that the proposed PUD is not compatible with this neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Foss. Ladies and gentlemen, there may be, again, out of respect for your fellow citizens, I ask once again that you please hold your applause. Thank you. Mr. Blansky.
Thank you. I didn't see you pointing. My name's Eileen Orlansky, and I live at 1851 Torquay Avenue in Royal Oak. It's north on 14 Mile Road, and I just had a couple things I wanted to bring up. And number one is I know there's all the issues and concerns and grumbling about all the inconveniences in the city because of the downtown development. But I'm just here just to say thank you for your vision, and we will all get through it, and we have to have patience. And I appreciate the vision and the time, and I'm sure that it hasn't been an easy task to move forward on such a great and a huge project. The second thing I'd like to read a couple postcards from other individuals that live in Royal Oak. And there's just a couple, if you would bear with me. I'd just like to let the mayor know and council that there's many people out there in my neighborhood and in other areas in Royal Oak that have a couple things to say about the downtown development. This postcard is from Nicole, and she lives on McDonald, and this is to the city commissioners and to the mayor. I am so glad to see that the downtown development includes a park that can be used for high-quality programs and events. Thank you. Another one is from to the mayor and the city council from Susan. She lives on Windermere. As a longtime Royal Oak resident and former staff member, I would like to confirm that the Downtown Civic Center is an exciting and much-needed addition. Good job. Dear Commission, I feel you are doing a great job on our developments. I know you have spent days, months on this. I appreciate your dedication to Royal Oak. This one's to Mike, Kyle, and Pat and Cher. Thank you for all your hard work. You are making Royal Oak a great place. Sincerely, from Paul. One more, and this one's from Oak Park. Thank you, Royal Oak. I drive 3 or 4 times to Royal Oak, visiting the main theater, going to restaurants, taking a friend to a doctor. Keep up the good work and finish the development. Looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I leave these with you?
Yes, you may. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for the time to speak. I'm usually not good unprepared, and since you guys changed the agenda tonight, I'm really not prepared. But there's a couple things I wanted to mention. First of all, I sent you all this red line of Anthony's Yeisbach's proposal, and I just want to give it to you again so you can put it on the record.
What's your name?
I'm sorry.
What's your name?
John Midgen.
Okay.
Midgen, Sterling Heights. But I just want to comment on a couple things I heard so far. There's a gentleman that talked about placemaking. I know a little bit about placemaking. I'm downtown Detroit, and they're doing a great job with placemaking. Placemaking is not Anthony Yeisbach's project. Placemaking talks about a concept of making outdoor spaces very friendly, very opening, very comfortable, very charming, very welcoming, and encourages people to be outside. The development downtown, I walked around yesterday. I haven't been in the downtown area for a while. And first instinct, I was really enjoying it. I was like, God, I really like buildings. I'm a guy. I like construction. I like things like this. But it felt like it was losing its charm. And I feel if you keep going in this direction, you might regret it a couple of years down the road. These buildings look great today, but they're going to be like bad wallpaper. You're going to get used to them. And if it doesn't invite you to be outside, I think it's going to work against the city if you keep going in this direction. One way to make these buildings nicer, you can have larger buildings, but the first floor retail should have a charm of a old downtown. That first floor should have its own character. It should not blend with the other surfaces above. They're very cold approaches when you go into some of these new buildings. But Anthony Eisbach's property is the antithesis of placemaking. The alley is where you will approach all these different businesses that are over there. And he's proposing 16-foot wide as a main entrance to these buildings with no sidewalk, no greenery, nothing. It is anything but placemaking. You have space over there. Use it. Let's figure out how we can get something, maybe a garden area, a sitting area, something to freshen up, lighten up the area, and include parking. But the parking can be looked at two different ways. It can be looked at as affordable parking, like the Jazzercise member put a couple quarters in, they go have an exercise. But as I was downtown yesterday, if I want to get a cup of coffee, it will cost me more for $5 flat rate parking than it will for the cup of coffee. Equally, for Jane's exercise class, the parking would be more expensive. So whatever parking's there, it has to be affordable because there's no other options. Downtown, you have many options. You can walk if you want to get cheaper parking. At that end, you don't have other options. You have one option, and it was tentatively going to be put in control of a private individual. What else? Oh, and I was very disappointed. Many people showed up for the Planning Commission 2 months ago. They were told that that item would not be back on the agenda again for 12 months unless it was radically different. Commissioner Douglas brought up an idea of putting a parking garage there. It was discussed, and it was still resoundingly defeated. But here again, 2 months later, it's back on the agenda. I don't think the Planning Department has the authority to silence the voice of the Planning Commission and their vote, and the people that got up and spoke that day. I don't think he has that authority. Otherwise, why have him vote if the next day somebody could say, force it back on the agenda? It was clear it was not going to be on the agenda for 12 months. Thank you very much.
Hey, Mr. Midgen. Yes, ma'am. In the checkered, yes.
Debbie Campbell, East University. Yeah, I just want to follow up on that. I was not going to be able to be at the Plan Commission meeting, the hearing tomorrow, so I was going to speak tonight anyway. But that's the big problem that I have with this, because I'm really a Plan Commission watcher. I've been watching this because development always seems to come at my neighborhood to try to hit it. So I watch this stuff. I have never seen, I mean, this completely broke with process. Why was the proposal even back on the Plan Commission agenda for consideration tomorrow night? And I want to go through this because I really studied I was at the hearing, I studied the video, I looked at the minutes, I've looked at all this stuff. The Plan Commission responsibly denied the request back in February. Lack of parking was only one of the reasons it was denied. They said it was too big. The Plan Commissioners had a list of 5 strong reasons that the size and the scope of the project fails to meet the plan unit development standards for approval, period. And the city attorney said that the surrounding businesses have legal right to use the parking lot and would have grounds to sue the city. There was plenty of parking lot discussion at that meeting. During the discussion, the petitioner talked about purchasing the parking lot. Commissioner Douglas even went so far as to ask the developer if he had thought about building a deck on the parking lot that was never for sale, wasn't put out to bid. There was no RFP put out. Hey, we want a great development here. What can you do with this parking lot? Nothing. This was just all on the fly at the Plan Commission. Okay, and then even with all the discussion about the parking lot, the project was still denied. It was not tabled, it was flat out denied, which means it's a year before this project can come back. Well, we're shocked that 2 months later, it's back again, and it says it's dependent on you guys talking tonight about the sale of the parking lot. What's going on? I mean, why? It seems that the Plan Commission's decision was thrown out. You know, forget about that. And I want to know who has the authority to just override what the Plan Commission is doing, right, or says, they're ruling, and who put this back on the agenda? Because of I don't understand. Like I say, I've been watching this for decades, never seen anything like it, okay? So everybody was in an uproar. Facebook was crazy. You know you were on it. You were on it. Your wife was on it. Everybody's on Facebook all weekend. It's a storm. And you said, your crystal ball said, I don't think this deal's gonna happen. I don't remember what you said. But we need an open, transparent process. This has to stop. This has been such a freak show,
Ms.
okay?
Campbell, I do need you to finish your last point.
A freak show. Be transparent. It doesn't need to be like this.
Okay,
Nobody
thank you,
needs
Ms.
to go
Campbell.
through this.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. I see respect for fellow citizens. The request is not going to be honored, but, you know, please, I ask, seriously. Yes, sir, in the back.
I'm Jim Hammond, Fairway Condos up by 13 Mile. And I just wanted to say that with the day, it's already been mentioned that such a nice day, you get to go out and exercise a little bit, walk the sidewalks downtown and get the bike out and up and down Main Street. And I just want to say how pleasant it is to be able to use that bike lane on Main Street. I know that there's been a lot of discussion over the last several years. Finally came to fruition. And I saw a lot of people on it today. I was one of them. And it's just a marvelous route to take on your bike, that and following the other bike routes around. Being where we are up at 13 Mile and Woodward, basically, we do have the easy access to the Woodward bus, and that gets us up and down Woodward just about as quick as anything. It's even better than driving most of the time. But there are really very few options to transit across the streets, and I know we've had discussions on that in the past. Sometime in the future, that probably will come to fruition, but I don't see it happening anytime in the next 10 or 20 years. But anyway, with everything that you've been talking about and everybody else has been talking about with the Main Street and Catalpa project, and with 3 different entities showing interest in it, I know you have your hands full with that one, so good luck with that. And just keep the good work going. And one last thing on the park, the downtown park. Downtown park really sounds like not a good name. You know, we don't have a central park yet. Have you thought about that? Just a thought.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. Ms. Mills.
Hi, Mary Mills, 5065 Crooks Road, number 51, Royal Oak. And I just want to say, as much as I hate this construction, all this stuff going on, I am really looking forward to the new city center. I'm looking forward to the new park, the new city hall, and the police. And so I thank you for your foresight for this. And I too have some notes from some friends that I'd like to read, just a couple of them, and then I can give them to you and you can take a look. This one is Bonnie. She lives on Hawthorne. Dear Royal Oak City Commissioners, thank you for all of your hard work on the Civic Center project, which I very much look forward to being done. You are just such an upbeat, approachable group of people who share so many of my values. Thank you. Mayor Fournier and Commissioners, thank you for your vision and dedication to this city. That was Tim, and he lives on 12 Mile. Dear Mayor and Commissioners, thank you so much for the great job you are doing on behalf of us for our city. And that was from Deb, and she lives on Oak Court. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mills. Mr. Razor.
Mayor, Commissioners, good evening. Jim Razor, 502 West Lincoln, Royal Oak. This weekend, somebody accused me on social media of being a paid PR person for the city of Royal Oak, and I responded, nobody has to pay me to be proud of this community and to where we've come. I'm one of your local independent business owners. Razor Law was founded here 25 years ago. We also bought the awful hotel or motel on 11 Mile and rebranded it with all of my partners being in Royal Oak, and we're proud as heck to bring that product to market and happy that it's successful. And the Royal Oak that I moved into in 1994 had a lot of buildings like that demo. The gas station on Woodward that's now the BP, the Jazzercise, back when it was a laundromat. There was a lot of work to do, and I am so proud of this commission for continuing all the work that's been done by everybody in this room, even the people that are the opponents sometimes of what we're doing. We have taken this town to a height of development that has solved many of the problems we were dealing with. When I became a commissioner in 2009, we had lack of retail, lack of parking, this facility, which was aging rapidly, the police station, which was a problem. Folks, don't lose sight of the fact that we have managed as a community to have 2 new parking structures, a downtown Central Park, which I championed at that table in June of 2011, a brand new police station, a brand new city hall, and we managed to do this without any tax increases on our residents at all. We managed to give our men and women in uniform the best equipment and now the best facility to protect us. Our folks in code enforcement, our folks that keep buildings from burning or keep buildings from structurally collapsing, the best tools to do their job without any tax increases. And what I see here a lot is what I've unfortunately seen in our national discourses. Everybody's got a conspiracy theory, a wild story. Now, having sat in those seats as a ZBA member and as a planning commission member and as a city commissioner, I know how much work and effort and reading goes into what you're doing. I know how many times Dave Gillum tells you in closed session what's legal and what's not. I have to applaud Mr. Johnson for his financial wherewithal to stem a sea of red ink in 2009 with the help of our public safety union and our residents. So when I see this wild national discourse of windmills causing cancer and other wild things, I think of people alleging that the moon landing was faked. I see people not realizing the progress as Americans that we have made in this community by getting our hands dirty and moving forward. So I saw the other day somebody wrote an article about don't Royal Oak my Ferndale. Well, don't Washington my Royal Oak. There's no conspiracy theory here. Your hard work, Mr. Johnson's hard work, Mr. Gillum's hard work, everybody's hard work has brought us to a point with all of these brand new facilities and $500 million, I know, Mayor, I'm wrapping up, $500 million of private investment in our community. So I'm proud of you. I thank you. On this demo thing, I know you'll do the right thing. I know planning will as well. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Razor.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Marisa Gugino. I live at 631 Kaiser. It's been a long time since I stood up here. I used to have a business in Royal Oak. I've lived here for a long time. And I just wanted to say on behalf of other retailers, like I used to be, that when we are making decisions in this town, that you be thinking about encouraging investment from small businesses like mine. And progressive development is part of that equation. And as much as change can be very difficult and it's scary in the case of some development that's clearly got people's back up, we need to be open to those things, because without it, without density in this city, you're not going to encourage retail here. It's still tough here for retailers. I see them turn over all the time. So I just want to say that I'm looking forward to the new development and the new changes. And I got over my own building being torn down, and there's something new there, and I'm all about it. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gugino. Mr. Karlowski.
Rick Kalowski, 419 Virginia. A couple of quick things. With regards to trees, I got a notice from your department that they're going to plan to tree at my place. I encourage, if the residents get that, to check them out and make sure you get a native species. There's a lot of unnative species on there, and I would really recommend the hackberry. It's a really nice tree. Second thing, for item 10, I am in support of keeping the handicap parking at the Beef Carver. I do eat there occasionally. I know where it is, and it's not a big detriment to traffic coming out and making a turn on Woodward. So give them a break and keep that handicap parking where it is. It's easy for the people who have handicaps to get in and out of the building. Now to one thing, before I get to the main topic, the notion that there was not a tax increase that allowed you to get all this construction is just nonsense. I dare say that if the public safety millage had not been renewed, we would not be sitting here talking about a new police station and a new city hall. So let's just cut the crapola. Our taxes have gone up, and that has gotten you, along with the recovery of the real estate market, has gotten you flush with cash, and that's okay. But let's be honest that there was a tax increase that allowed you all this construction. And lastly, the main reason that I'm up here is there was obviously a notice from a city department that there was going to be a discussion at this commission about the sale of a parking lot to a developer. Now, my biggest problem is, why wasn't this on the agenda in the first place? Why wasn't there an agenda item or a correction to the planning department document that you guys were going to discuss this? It should have been on the agenda so that everybody knew up front that this was going to be discussed. And another question, I guess, is, well, what if somebody else didn't pose a bid for this parking lot, which apparently has happened? Would you guys have been in the back room discussing the contract right now and still not telling anybody about it? This is not right. If you guys are going to think about selling any city land, there should be an open RFP that you are considering it so that everybody can put a bid in. It should not be, well, gee, somebody talked about it, we're going to discuss it behind closed doors, and if everything flows through, we're good. I don't think that's, I don't think that selling of city property is shielded by the Open Meetings Act. I think you have to bring that out in the open, and you can't just do this behind, in a closed session because it's discussing a contract. Thank you.
I see in the back, a hand. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Dolores Barron, 1103 North Main Street. And my building and my property surrounds the property that's all in question at Main and Catalpa. The main thing, really, I do plan on writing an email to go into more detail because my time is limited. The auto place, it is an eyesore there. We need to do something with it. This is not the project to do it. To do this building, to do the parking structure is going to affect all the businesses, as everyone has already mentioned. My business in particularly, when I built this project, I got a variance of over 22 parking spaces by the city. If you take this over or you allow this sale or this parking structure to go through, what will happen also is my patients will not be allowed to park there. If it's a private facility, then what will happen is that who knows what the amount is going to be that my patients are going to have to pay. Not only my patients, I have a medical facility next door to me, another doctor, and I also have 3 other condos upstairs that have beautiful patios. The patios would be looking into a brick wall. Now, with all that being said, that's going to devalue my property. It's also going to devalue my business because of the fact that patients will not want to be coming into my office because they're not going to be able to get there, especially even during construction. So when I first built this building, it was only me as one person. Now there's a total of 4 dentists there, plus another medical facility. And me as a dentist owning this practice, I don't have to practice. I can go ahead and have as many people as I want practicing there, and it's still going to be providing me an income. So what does this do in the long run? In the long run, this will devalue my building. It will also devalue my business and future income that I could be getting from all of this. And this is also public taking of my property because I was allowed the variance on there. So something needs to get done, but this project is not it. I'm all for improvement. I even have photos I actually have with me that shows that parking lot being 75% full at 10 o'clock in the morning on a Wednesday. Granted, I know Mr. Yusbeck said something that, oh, on a Sunday, the parking lot isn't used. But for me, or they wanted it to use for jazzercise, but for me, I can open up my business and have it open 7 days a week. There's no reason why I can't. But if that is there, I can't do that. So basically, you will be affecting my business and the other businesses surrounding there. So that's why I'm asking you to reconsider. Obviously, I know it's not on the agenda, but it's going to come back again and again and again. So it really has to stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Barron. All right, who's next? Gentleman here. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is William Asher. I've been living at 1003 Irving since 1991. And I just wanted to express my appreciation for what you've been doing with the project downtown, the park and the city hall, the police station, and the parking garage. The plans look great. I know the park isn't completely planned yet. I participated in some of the meetings where people were getting input for it. And that brings me to my point is that I think the process has been real transparent. I've felt through emails and news stories and such that I've understood more or less what you've been doing with this development. I walk downtown frequently. I live about a mile from downtown, and I look forward to coming to the park, continuing to use the library, and using other city services. Just have one suggestion, one concern, and that is, if I understand that when it's all done, there are going to be 85 fewer parking spaces at the farmer's market. And I'm just hoping that somebody can figure out a way to get free parking at that new parking garage Saturday morning. Maybe the Downtown Development Authority could pay for it. I don't know. I don't know how it can be done, but I think that would assuage a lot of concerns about parking at the farmer's market if there was free parking available, equivalent to what's there today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Asher. In the neon green, the hat, sir. Or is that neon yellow? I never know what to call it, neon green or neon yellow.
Construction green.
Robert Myers, 1915 Roland Avenue. I just was reading in the inside here, I got a couple things to talk about in here. They showed a map of the parks that are in the city, and neither one's down by my end of town, like Maddock Park or Bassett Park are listed in there. I was wondering why. And speaking of Bassett Park, in the 25 years since I've lived here, they've did nothing to improve that park. A picnic table or pavilion would be kind of nice. I'm sure there's money in the budget somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Meyer. Mr. Yasbeck.
Good evening, Anthony Yesbeck, 922 Main Street. I have been in Royal Oak. I have two businesses. I serve on the DDA. I live across the street from this proposed project. It's very nice to meet you, Mrs. Hall. I apologize for not introducing myself before. I'll tell you, I know we're not going to talk about the project tonight, but there's a few comments I'd like to make. The first obvious one is that I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you did a pretty adequate job of letting people know that this was going to be a discussion tonight. If this commission is going to be accused of anything, it should be that you're really terrible secret keepers, because the cat got out of the bag. I'm going to agree with Mrs. Campbell, Deb Campbell, and say this process has been an embarrassment. But the embarrassment is not on that side of the table. The embarrassment is on this side of the table. I've heard, even tonight, so much misinformation about what we're proposing to do. It's disgusting. I talked to some nice people in the audience. I talked to a doctor today next to Dr. Barron. And I talked to Jane from the Jazzercise on Sunday. All of them have, at best, been told or conveyed misunderstandings about this project and what this parking structure will do. And at worst, they've been lied to and really deceived about what's going to happen. I came out of my apartment, I come out of my apartment, I live across the street every day, and I see this terrible eyesore across the street. So I had the crazy idea, because this parcel's been for sale 10 out of the last 13 years, the crazy idea of saying, maybe there's something positive we can do here. Not to mention it's environmentally contaminated, and I know there's a lot that's grossly underutilized right behind it. It generated, the first thing I did is come to the city and see what that lot generated in revenue. $12,670 last year, and projected to be even less this year. So maybe, but with some creative thinking, and we could make two negatives into a positive. And that's where the idea came for this project. Now, I'm all for an honest discussion of the merits of this project if it's an honest consideration of the facts. I mean, even tonight, they have no idea what's going on, and I don't blame them. There's certain members of this community that I've been told used to be on the city commission, are maybe considering running in the future. If what they do to get their message across is deceive the people of Royal Oak, who, Royal Oak is such a great community. I love being here. I love meeting people every day. But this is a shame what's going on with regard to this project. So I don't fault you at all. And two more bids for the parking lot, I applaud you for considering that, because do the best thing for the city. If somebody's going to offer you a better, make a better offer than we're offering, all factors considered, you should take it. And I know that you will, because you've done great things for the city.
Mr. Yazbek, I do need you to finish your final thoughts, sir.
You do great things for the city. That got a laugh when the other lady said it. That's the point. I know, I will say this. There's supposed to be a rally. I'm not on social media. I can't take all that stuff. But I have seen some things. There's supposed to be a rally tomorrow at 5 o'clock at Dixie Moon. I plan on going there. And I still hope, even though we're not considering it right now, I'm still going to go there tomorrow. And I hope some of these folks show up, because I would love to give them an honest representation of what we're proposing. And if they still don't think it's a good idea, when they understand the facts, then we don't have to do this project. It's fine.
Thank you, Mr. Yazbek. Who's next? Ms. Wagman.
Okay, Janice Wagman, I always do this, 600 Wellesley. I was ready to speak tonight about transparency in the absence of an agenda item for the sale of a citizen-owned public parking lot until I read numerous inaccurate posts by former Commissioner Jim Razor on social media that I believe were meant to deceive and incite the residents. Then today, I read an announcement from the Greater Royal Oak Democratic Club, which is also filled with inaccuracies. Here is part of what it said. A political faction organized by Don Nahat and Chuck Semchina have bamboozled a group of Royal Oak residents into believing that our city commission is corrupt and incompetent. Mr. Nahat and Mr. Semchina are encouraging their faction to meet at the Dixie Moon Saloon before the meeting to drink alcohol and then attend the city commission meeting as a group. Apparently, this helps get their faction in the mood to hurl abusive and baseless accusations. If you are free to attend, meetings start at 7:30. You do not need to support, you do not need to counter or address the arguments of the Nahat-Semchina mob. Just show up and make complimentary statements about the commission. Let me set the record straight. ROAR is a grassroots group of Royal Oak residents who, believe it or not, represent all political factions. Unlike other groups of politicians and political parties, our recent campaign was funded almost exclusively by residents, not developers, PACs, politicians, and political parties. We have not been bamboozled. We do not need alcohol. Further, our intent is not to hurl abusive and baseless accusations, but obviously, the Greater Royal Oak Democratic Club and Mr. RaVasseur are intent on doing so, and they won't let the truth get in their way. The mudslinging has begun. It is possible for us to disagree with you, not because you are Democrats. Remember, we represent all political factions, but because we truly have a different vision for our city, and that vision includes responsible development. We grew because we had a common concern. The concern now is that another group of small business owners will have their livelihoods negatively impacted and possibly destroyed by a developer who has contributed thousands to your campaigns, especially since it was not listed on the agenda. There is no excuse for a closed-door meeting without also putting it on the published agenda. It is not transparency and not what all residents expect and deserve. Let us take the partisanship out of Royal Oak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wagman. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, ma'am. Let's have a little respect for your fellow citizens, please.
Good evening. My name is Jane McNamara. I live at 2208 Crooks Road, and I own Jazzercise Fitness Center of Royal Oak, which depends on the parking lot in question for the development at Main and Catalpa. I know it's off the agenda. I know it's off the agenda tomorrow night, but I still feel like I need to say my piece. I'm so for development of that corner and for development in Royal Oak in general. I see a lot of beautiful things happening in the city, but that particular corner just needs something more scaled down. The size is just grossly bigger than it needs to be. It's 22 feet higher than what the city allows. And I agree with those who have stated earlier that the parking lot, the fact that it's somebody's ready to purchase it without it even being for sale and without there being any opportunities for others to bid on it is just wrong. I do need that parking lot, and the reason the structure won't work for me is, number one, the construction will do me in. I have almost 700 customers. 40% of them, 45% of them are not even from Royal Oak. And another point I'd like to make is there's talk about how that development will be so great to bring new people in to spend money in Royal Oak. I just need to make the point that my customers feed Royal Oak's economy every single day. I have 57 classes a week. So 57 times a week, people leave a class and go a lot of the time and spend money in Royal Oak, whether it be grocery stores, the gas station, the bank, many people go out for brunch, just happy hour after evening classes. We spend a lot of money. They spend a lot of money in Royal Oak. I have 19 communities besides Royal Oak who are members at my business. We go from Hazel Park all the way north to Bloomfield Hills and every town in between. So I just want to make that point that I am bringing business into this city. You don't need an oversized 68-unit development to do that. I just so wish somebody would just think about this and scale that down and let Yazbek have his own parking in his own lot, or just something other than build a structure that, again, I'll lose out. I'll probably have to close my doors for the construction alone, because when you have 57 classes a week, dead of winter, nobody's going to walk God knows how far to get to that business. When the structure is built, it's going to have a flat rate charge, whatever that may be. $5 seems to be what is the norm for the new structures. Nobody's going to park in a structure and pay $5 to park for a 1-hour class. It just won't happen. I would be forced to lower my prices, which I can't do because then I couldn't pay my rent. So all of this is just very concerning for me as a business owner. I have a variance, sadly, somehow for only 17 spaces, but Nevertheless, it's a variance, and it's not being protected, or it may not be protected. I shouldn't say it's not, but it may not be protected. In addition, the structures downtown, at least people who come down to this part of downtown, have many side streets that they could park on. You really can't do that for the businesses that depend on that parking lot. And that is because you've got Main Street on one side of you, Catalpa on the other side of you, Crooks on the other side of you, and that leaves Center and Derby, which you can only park on one side of those streets, and it's one block each. And people aren't going to cross Washington to walk all the way to work out or to come to any of the other businesses that are there. Furthermore, my landlords could never develop into something more. It's a one-story building now, and I occupy the whole building. But if they wanted to build a second story, or if I'm gone out of the picture someday, and they want to change the use of that building that they own, they will be very limited, and it'll lower their value, as Dr. Barron had said, and it's just not a fit. It's just not a good idea. That's my opinion. But I have a lot of numbers to back it up. I mean,
Ms. McNamara, I do need you to finish.
all
your
right, that's
last
pretty
thought.
much everything I wanted to say. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. McNamara.
Sure.
All right, who's next? Yes, ma'am.
I didn't plan on speaking tonight. My name's Karen Perslow. I live at 2515 Benjamin Avenue. I've been a 58-year resident of this city. I've owned 3 homes, and I have to say, people have criticized me because I don't like all the development going on. I don't like all the high-rises. I feel like we're Birmingham on steroids, and not in a good way, because at least they have Woodward running through their city. I would like to say, though, because you guys are intent on selling property and building condos, that when the time comes that you decide you're going to start selling houses to build condos, I have a 60 by 120-foot lot that for $500,000, I'll be happy to sell it to the city, and I can retire. So Jim Razor would probably be happy to hear that, because he's always ragging on me about the fact that I'm not bringing up the value of the city because I don't encourage the development. So, but I stand on the record. If Mr. Yezbeck or anybody else wants to buy my house for $500,000 and put in a condo, and you guys all approve it, go for it.
Thank you, Ms. Perslow. All right, yes, ma'am, here in the front.
Thank you for having me here. I'm Christine Rapanis. I'm the sole proprietor of Adelphia Properties. I wasn't going to speak till Mr. Yezbeck spoke, and I guess I disagree with him. I feel that the proposal for that parking lot and for his building do not hit the qualifications for PUD. It's neighborhood business, and it's zoned that way, and the future master plan has it as neighborhood business along with that parking structure to be public. And I just feel that this plan that he has is just too large of a density, and it just creates too many problems for this area. And frankly, you have no on-street parking in the area, going down quite a bit going toward the downtown area. There's just limited parking, and you just wouldn't be hurting me, hurting my tenant, you'd be hurting everybody. There is responsible development, and I can tell you, his is not it. Do we all want to see demos, gone and something nice? Yes, but this is not the project. And this area is different from the downtown due to the fact of the limited parking. When I bought that building, I looked and researched the fact that there was parking, ample parking, and that the master plan had, it is neighborhood business and a public parking lot. So I don't know much more to say. I just think it's a bad plan, and it's not something that should be considered or be done just because it's the only plan. People know Demos is ready and willing to sell now. Before he wasn't, and now he is. So there will be other developers. This just is not the right plan, and that's what I asked the commission to consider for looking at the future for that area. It is a different area than the downtown, mainly because of the limited parking. And parking's the name of the game. And if he controls it or whatever, they can charge whatever they want. And it's gonna stifle business. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Panas. All right, who's next? Yes, sir, in the back.
Name's Jay Goldenberg. I live at 211 Gardenia. And I got a question first before I start to speak. My hearing aid's cut out when there's a lot of background noise. So the proposal for the sale of the parking lot is gone for all intents and purposes for now, and it won't be brought up for tomorrow. Is the proposal for the complex still on the agenda tomorrow?
No.
So nothing to do with the proposal at all?
Won't be discussed tonight, and it won't be on the planning agenda
The
tomorrow.
sale, the parking lot or the whole entire proposal?
Well, yeah, the entire proposal, I guess. Any of it.
Okay, so that clears that up. So anyways, I live on Gardenia, just east of Maine, over behind Friends, across the street from the Friends, and the old Harper Furniture Store. When we moved in there 30-something years ago, the only parking available, because when they straightened out, or when they cut off the pass-through for Gardenia going to Maine, and they curved the road around the hardware store, that left two parking lots, the one behind Friends and the one behind the old Harper Furniture Store. Friends, at maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, they bought their lot, and the other lot was still a public parking. There is no parking on Gardenia for a good half a mile going east. They took the parking away on Main Street. There's no parking there. You have the Rite Aid, so you can't park in their parking lot. There's no parking across Main Street because the bar, the in-place, bought that parking spot. What used to be Carpenter's drugstore, which is now Crispelli's, they bought that parking lot. So that parking lot, there's nowhere to park other than the parking lot now on the north side of Catalpa off of Center. Our property values, because there's no parking anywhere, the only thing we have is our driveway. The only thing our neighbors have to park in are driveways. We can't have people over without having them park a block and a half away. When they turned when they turned Harper into an apartment complex, they sold the parking lot without really very much talk. We got into a bit of a back and forth with that, with the board and the people that were doing the development and so on. But the city didn't seem to care that the only parking available, they would rather make the money and sell it to the apartment complex than have the residents have a place to park. The only place we have to park now, if we have friends over, is that parking lot across Main Street. We asked them at the time where we're supposed to park, because there was no parking in our house. The board at the time said, well, you can just go park over there. Forget the fact that it's metered parking. You can't park overnight. You can't park on the side streets at night.
Mr. Gober, I do need you to finish your final
Okay.
thoughts, sir.
By doing this project and taking over the parking lot, and from, my math may not be all that good, but it looks like they're going to be a good 80 parking spaces shy of what is allowed, regardless whether they put in a parking structure or not. I don't believe this project is the proper one for that area. I have no problem with putting in another apartment complex or condos or whatever, as long as it's within scale within the neighborhood. This thing is just way too big.
Thank you, sir. All right, who's next? Yes, sir.
Clark Campbell, East University, Royal Oak. You have an item on your consent agenda tonight labeled Authorization for the Downtown Development Authority, the DDA, to solicit proposals for architectural services for Center Street parking structure commercial space, item 7U. Now, I'm not in the real estate business, nor do I believe the city of Royal Oak is. That might explain why I believe the DDA is putting the cart before the horse, so to speak. The DDA is asking for your permission to solicit proposals for architectural services in order to design the interior renovations necessary for the space to be utilized. This is in the parking structure. The recommended resolution they've proposed also gives the DDA permission to hire an architect to produce construction drawings. The memo indicates the DDA's current budget includes $80,000 for contracted services this year, and that they have allocated $300,000 in their 2019-2020 budget to build out the space. To my way of thinking, before you invest $380,000 of our tax money to design and build out that space, you first get a tenant to agree to lease it. It makes no sense to invest any of our tax dollars in this space if you have no idea what the return on investment is going to be. I am also aware that the DDA is entertaining plans to spend $3.5 million of our tax dollars to make our alleys behind the businesses on the east side of Main Street a place to sit and dwell. It is my opinion that the DDA is not taking very good care of what is going on in the street out in front of these businesses. They certainly do not need to be trying to create a living space behind them. The DDA should be keeping our downtown squeaky clean, both in front of the businesses and out back of them. They should be taking care of our downtown sidewalks, crosswalks, so they are smooth, clear, and walkable. They should be making sure the zebra stripes in our crosswalks are visible and bright, not worn and peeling away. They should invest in substantial on-street signage that clearly indicates that pedestrians have the right of way on the streets of our city. If the DDA has extra money, they should use it to pay for our new parking decks, pay down our new construction debt, or pay for all of the police services they use. Why am I bringing this to you and not directly to the DDA? One, because the DDA members are appointed by the City Commission. You are responsible for the makeup of that authority. It is a reflection on you. I'm wrapping up. And two, because the DDA meets at 4 p.m. on a work day, and people like me who work for a living can't easily get to their meetings. I would like them to move their meetings to an evening time slot like this one. If it is time to rethink RO, that also means doing things like moving a daytime meeting to a time that is convenient for the general public to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. All right, who's next? Going once, going twice. Yes, sir.
Mike Green, 922 North Center Street. I live on, the 9 houses, a little tiny dead-end street right there. Nobody's spoken for the Ladybug Shop, to the best of my knowledge. There is no parking on our street for anybody except the residents that live there. Reason being, we had a lot of issues before the Ladybug Shop moved in. So I just want to speak for them in that any parking that goes into that business eventually will be, at the parking structure across the street or at the city-owned parking lot. I just want to let you know that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Green.
No problem.
Anybody else here tonight to speak? All right, we're going to bring the discussion back over to this side of the table. That means public comment is closed. I guess we'll have some commissioner comments real quick.
Nope, not a comment, I was contacted by the Royal Oak High School Diversity Club, and they were unable to send a representative public comment tonight. I told them I would share that this coming Friday, April 12th, is they're observing a day of silence, which is to spread awareness about the bullying of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and questioning students. The students take a vow of silence to symbolically represent the silencing of LGBTQ students, and they will be breaking their silence at a community event Friday Friday evening, and they invite all to attend. That is taking place in the auditorium. They're calling it the Night of Noise to break their silence, 5 to 7 p.m. at the Royal Oak High School Auditorium. There will be speakers, slam poets. They have a keynote speaker, a short film, music, and more, and the community is invited and encouraged to attend this Friday evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Dubuck. Some wonderful high school students. All right. Because we moved the approval of the agenda up earlier, this brings us to item number 7, which is the consent agenda. Commissioner LeVasseur.
I would like to remove item U from the consent agenda.
Item U? Is there an item U?
Yes.
Consent, yeah. Where do I see? Is it?
Yeah, we have some Microsoft creative numbering.
It's not alphabetical order.
Oh, it's M on mine. Okay, to be clear, I can read, but it's M on mine and U on Commissioner LeVasseur's.
Oh, I see.
Just make sure we're talking about the same thing. because I
Yeah,
don't
so what, is
see-
it the authorization for Downtown Development Authority solicitation of bids?
That is the one.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna cross out, make it U. Everyone else have U on theirs? I just have the M? I get a special agenda, apparently. All right, okay, anything else?
There's a U on our side here also.
U out there? Okay, so I must have an older one.
Ours is just numbered wrong, because we're missing B through I.
Okay. On my computer, it says U. Okay, good. All right, not that that's an important point, but it's late.
Moving on.
Moving on, moving past the M's and U's. Is there a motion regarding the consent agenda?
Move approval as modified.
A motion by Commissioner Douglas. We have a second by Commissioner Macy. Is there discussion? All right, the consent agenda now consists of city commission meetings from March 25th, 2019. City clerk requests to fill vacancy. Claims from March 29th and April 9th, 2019. Approval of purchase orders. Approval of interlocal agreement with participation with Oakland County Sheriff's Office Special Weapons and Tactics, i.e. SWAT team. Approval to amend Oakway interlocal agreement. Approval of amended Michigan Mutual Aid Box Alert System Agreement. Contract modification for professionals engineering services 2019-20, congestion mitigation, air quality signal improvements. Approval of agreement for tri-party funding of traffic signal modernization, 14 Mile and Greenfield Road. Grant of easement for stormwater. School District Royal Oak, Keller Elementary. Award of construction engineering services for the 2019-14 Mile Road resurfacing. Approval of Michigan Economic Development Corporation, RPM Freight System LLC local support request. Approval of sidewalk cafe application, Bar Louis. Approval of request to purchase loan servicing software. And receive and file non-action items, which include the March 2019 investment report. Any discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Commissioner LeVasseur, item number U.
Thank you. Whether it's M or U, I appreciate that we're
Be an
discussing
MOU.
it. I guess this would be for Tim here. You know, I had a similar perspective initially when I first looked at this, as Mr. Campbell had indicated. So I just wanted to get the perspective from the DDA as far as why move forward with this now as opposed to seek out a tenant first and see what the perspective was there.
Well, I believe that Mr. Cameron and Mr. Fenton have been seeking out tenants since the parking structure opened. You need to keep in mind that the commercial space in the deck is about 5,200 square feet. It's currently a dirt floor. It's unfinished. The ceiling is disrepair. I think some of the thought process was to white box it, and then the city could at least use it for assembly type uses or meetings or downtown activities until a tenant is found. I don't believe the intent here is to build it out to Taj Mahal. Yes, those numbers are currently what's contained in the budget. By no means do I believe the DDA is going to spend $80,000 on design services. That'd be up to them, but I think their intent is to put a floor in it, put a bathroom or two in it, depending on the assembly use, and maybe some kitchen facilities, and call it a day. But since the city owns it, the city has to give the DDA the permission to actually do anything to the space. If the city commission chooses not to have the DDA to do this, I don't think that would really hurt their feelings. But that's where their thought process was to potentially get the space so that it's usable, even if it's just for meetings, incubator activities, some of the things that have been talked about.
Might it work to perhaps do some of the basic things such as put in the floor, not take it the next step, whatever tent might go in there, might say, well, we prefer to have a wall here versus a wall there, that sort of thing.
When I say white box it, if you've been in it or seen it, I don't think there's any intent to separate the space other than design for restrooms. They'll probably design it for, as I said, an assembly type use, because that would require the most plumbing fixtures, and get those put in so that your options are then wide open. I think some of, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Kammer or Todd that have had people potentially looking at the space, but I think it may be the fact that it's not at least a white box, why some of them look at it as not being ready for them to move into. So from wall to wall, I don't think you'll see them design the space at all. It's just to finish it. If there's a kitchen put in it, whether ventilation can be put into it or not, that's an if. Also, process-wise, as it indicated in the resolution, the DDA would do an RFP for professional design services. Once those are done, put together, they'll come back to the city commission to approve them, authorize the DDA to potentially go the next step and hire a contractor, so that you'll see what's being planned for the space. If the city commission doesn't like the plan for the space, obviously you wouldn't authorize the DDA going forward with a contractor to build it out.
All right, so just to recap, in the professional opinion of management in the DDA, Mr. Kammer, and economic development that are trying to look for uses for this space, 5,200 square feet, short ceilings, doesn't really have any walls or ceiling. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's in an awkward location, but we knew when we built the parking garage that we could do something with the space. Don't know what it is exactly. But you're saying, hey, all we're doing is going out for bid. Probably going to be far less on the architectural fees just to slap some walls up. It's a lot less expensive if you put bathrooms in now before you pour cement, so we want to see what that looks like. And then it gives us options down the road to see what it would cost based on those drawings if we do move forward with them for a potential tenant, although the use there is going to be interesting. It's not going to be your, anchor store tenant that's going to locate in that space and spend $200,000 to refurbish it, so that we have to keep some options on the table, I imagine.
And technically, you're the owner of the space, so you're the ones that have to decide who the tenant is.
Yeah.
It's not DDA-owned space.
Any other questions? Any motions? Commissioner Macy?
Move approval of the resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Macy. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubuck. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right. I'm going to look at my online agenda. That brings us to item number 8, which is to request to set dates regarding the fiscal year 2019-20 Budget Commission special meetings and public hearing date. Everybody's looking at me with some crazy eyes. Ms. Rudd?
Mayor, City Commissioners. We are requesting June 10th, which is obviously the first commission meeting in June for the public hearing. So we are not conducting that public hearing right before July 1st. We want a little bit of room there. And then the request is to establish the special budget work sessions for May 15th, May 21st, and May 23rd, all at 6 p.m.
I know Commissioner Macy has a question right out of the gate, so.
Well, I'm wondering if we can move the May 21st one. I just don't know if there are alternate dates that the city has ready to propose, or if we at the table can do that, or what the story is, but there's a 1st and 4th grade concert on May 21st, and there are, I believe, 4 children implicated, right? You have 2, you have 1, I have 1. So if we could move that date, that would be great. So I don't know.
Got a suggestion?
May 29th?
There's an exceptional celebration on May 29th that may prohibit my attendance.
May 30th?
May 30th. Thursday?
I like the 30th.
I can do
30th
that.
looks good.
That's instead of which one?
Instead of the 21st.
So we do May 15th, May 23rd, and May 30th,
And that's
if
one week.
necessary.
Yes.
Commissioner Perush?
Are we still considering this particular date? Because I have another issue with another date. I'm sorry, but I do.
Okay. Which is your,
I will not be able to attend on the 15th.
okay.
But that may be just me. And if I'm counting correctly, this will be budget number 20 for me. So I can catch up, at the next meeting.
If you really twist our arm, we can make it not happen, Commissioner Perush.
So you all can just do the 15th if you want to. I will, but I will not be able to attend on the 15th.
Pretty flexible on those days.
Can we make it the 16th, and then be Thursday, Thursday, Thursday?
Sounds like a
Sorority?
tractor pull. Well, that's Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
The 16th also would be difficult for me.
16th will be difficult.
Yeah.
So we have the 15th as an issue, the 21st as an issue. Commissioner Gibbs?
6 o'clock is really, really bad for me. It took me an hour to get here today for the 6 o'clock meeting, for the closed session meeting. So if we could make it 6:30 possibly, that gives me a little bit less traffic to deal with.
Okay, Commissioner LeVasseur?
For all 3, I'm sorry.
Well, I know for some other matters, we've circulated, I don't know what the proper term it is, but basically a calendar
Poll
where
or whatever.
where we've.
Doodle poll, yeah.
Doodle poll or whatever it's called.
Doodle poll.
Doodle poll where we put in what works for us and we've blocked out what doesn't work for us. And if time permits, that may be the best way to come to some sort of idea of what might work here.
Well, do you have any conflicts, Commissioner LeVasseur?
I'm sure I do, but none with any of the dates that have been mentioned so far.
So, anybody else have, that might be our solution, but I just want to see, does anybody else have any, I hear 6:30, I hear
The 30th instead of the 21st.
30th instead of the 21st, and I hear the 15th. Now, maybe we start with the 15th because that's the lead. Does anyone have an issue doing it on the 16th or 14th?
So she has an issue on the 16th.
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so on the 14th.
Hold on.
Staff, any issue?
Planning Commission.
Planning Commission on the 14th?
It's not a good night.
Well, then that one we would have to do without Commissioner Perush if that's the only push. How about the 30th? Does anyone have any issues with the 30th? All right, does anyone have any issues with 6:30? So at least we got the 30th and the 6:30, so we resolved that. The only question is the 15th.
I would say go with the 15th.
Vote the 15th? Okay. Does anyone disagree with that?
She's outraged.
You'll be back on the second one, so you can impart your wisdom if we need to backtrack a little bit.
And the potential third. And if I have comments on any of the ones that you're going to discuss on the 15th, then I'll email you guys.
Okay.
So we're doing the 16th, the 21st, and the 30th?
No, 15th, 30th, or 15th, 23rd, and 30th, all at 6:30 PM.
Okay. 23rd and 30th, okay. Thank you.
Good?
That's good.
Good. Okay, if someone makes a motion to that effect,
So moved.
wow, okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Douglas, I think a second by Commissioner Macy. All right, further discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. We have budget dates. All right, thank you, Ms. Rudd. All right. right, that brings us to item number 9, which is the approval of agreement of sale and license for use of Oakland Community College.
Mayor Fournier, City Commissioners, what you have before you is a proposed agreement with Oakland Community College that would serve two purposes. First, it would provide for the sale of the parking lot, which is located, and I always get the corner wrong, the southwest corner of Main Street and 7th to OCC, consistent with the presentation that Chancellor Provenzano gave to the City Commission back on December 10th of last year. The terms of the agreement are set forth in my memo, the purchase price, the cash deposit, a 90-day inspection period. OCC would also be committing to commence the development within a period of 3 years from the date of closing. Commencement of development constituting the expenditure of funds for the project, and what has been indicated to me, and I also believe to Mr. Johnson, is that the actual first work that will be done on the project will not be on this particular piece of property, will be done on the power plant for the college, because they're going to have to upgrade the power plant to be able to serve the expansion that would be expected for this piece of property.
They'll actually be moving the power plant.
Okay, moving the power plant, right. And if for some reason the college does not commence development within that 3-year period, the city would have the right to reacquire the property for the purchase price. So OCC will not be able to land bank the property. They'll have to get going on the project, on the development. So in addition, between the date of closing and a notice roughly 30 days before the time they actually begin construction on site at the parking lot property, the city would be able to continue to use the lot in the manner that we've been using the lot all along as a public parking lot. So, the OCC Board of Trustees approved this agreement basically on March 26th of 2019, an agreement based upon these terms, subject to the final review and approval of their council, and we would recommend the approval of a similar resolution by this body. That resolution is contained at the top of page 2. If you have questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those.
Commissioner LeVasseur.
There's a couple concerns that I have. The first, even though it looks like it's a wonderful proposal that they have with regard to what they want to develop there, I do have concerns with the protocol. We didn't put this out for a request for proposals at the time that they came to us and said, hey, we'd like to buy this. And I think the proper process should have been to request proposals first to make sure we know what the various options were here. That's one concern. The other concern, when they did make their presentation to us, there was some discussion with regard to the parking along the north side of their campus. And my understanding is their plan is to expand the parking along that north side that would be adjacent to this parcel, as well as to make that available to the general public. But there doesn't seem to be anything in the proposed agreement that contractually binds them to do that. And that's something that I would really like to see in there.
Any other questions for Mr. Gillum? Commissioner Douglas.
Well, we have offered this site to prospective developers on a regular basis for whatever the past 5 years. As you know, people were coming in and looking at the larger place adjacent to it. We encouraged them to look at this one as well. We had a couple people suggest something to the site, but the fact is it's really too small to build anything on, but it's been part of the offerings that we have made to developers over a period of time. I just don't think that any, people have known it was there and haven't done anything about it. I just don't think there's like this pent-up demand for this small lot to require an RFP. Furthermore, the proposed use, the things that OCC wants to accomplish here are so consistent with our goals as a city, with the makeup of our downtown, that it's, and we're getting market value for the property. I think it's a completely appropriate decision.
Questions, discussion? Commissioner Dubak?
I completely agree. I remember there being tremendous enthusiasm. Everything that they're proposing, it isn't just an aesthetic benefit to the city, but the programs that are going to be running there are going to be for the public. It's a community college, so the services there are for people in our community. So the idea that we want to squeeze a couple extra pennies out of this property and perhaps sacrifice what's a tremendous partnership with a significant community partner that actually works in the public interest. I don't see the value in that. I understand the rigid ideology, but I don't think that should be applied in this situation.
Commissioner Macy?
Just following up on Commissioner LeVasseur's question about the parking. Is that part of the parking that they're adding to their north side? Is that part of the contractual obligation, or there's no obligation for them to do that? That's just what they've told us as part of the plan.
This agreement doesn't address that parking. No, it does not.
Okay.
Commissioner Perush?
Does this plan eventually require site plan approval?
Yes.
Okay. And it seems to me that we deal with the parking issue in the site plan process. And that's where it's going to come up, and I think that's the appropriate place for it.
Yep.
So it's not like we can't deal with the issue. We're going to deal with it in the site plan process, and that's where it should be. So I'm going to move approval of this resolution to approve this agreement.
Motion by Commissioner Perush, second by Commissioner Dubak. Further discussion? I'll just add, OCC is an exceptional institution. We're blessed to have them in our town as a continuing education opportunity for all of our residents. And this plan makes absolute sense for the betterment of our community in every regard. I'll be supporting it. With that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. All right. That brings us to item number 10, which is the consideration of a license agreement for 27400 Woodward Avenue, sign of the Beef Carver. Mr. Callahan.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. That we do when we rebuild a roadway as extensively as we plan to do here is we eliminate the code violations and safety issues that we see in a particular street. We eliminate excessive driveways, issues that could cause safety problems for pedestrians or motor vehicles. So on this particular street, we approached the sign of the Beef Carver and let them know that they have handicap parking in the right-of-way and they do not have a license agreement to cover it. We recommended that they pursue getting a license agreement if they wanted to maintain that. We note in our commission letter that there's some serious safety issues that we feel with this parking area. Although we have no records of anybody being hurt for as long as it's been there, and it's been there as long as that restaurant has been around. We can't find any records of it being constructed, obtaining permits for it, anything. So engineering has proposed two resolutions, one for granting the license agreement, one for not. The first resolution in front of you is for denying granting the license. With that resolution, the project would include removing the handicap spaces and restoring the right-of-way to the condition it should be in accordance with city standards. The second resolution grants the license agreements to the property, but requires him to construct it to meet current ADA compliance standards. The laws have changed since this area was built, and it does not meet the current standards for slope and space and a few other items. He's done a good job to meet the spirit of the law with what he's laid out there, but it isn't up to standard. And we're going to be touching that when we create the new road edge. So part of it will have to be removed anyway. So those are our two options before you this evening.
Questions for Mr. Callahan? Commissioner Douglas.
Yes, do handicap parking spaces subtract from a business's parking requirement, or are they part of the parking requirement?
I'm not on the planning commission, or do I know all there is to know about the building code and what the building code requires. But for every 100 spaces, you're supposed to have a set number of handicap parking spaces. And right now, this development has no other handicap parking spaces in their actual parking lot that they own.
Right.
Their only handicap spaces are in the public right-of-way. So he would have to probably take and install up to between 3 and 4 spaces in his parking lot, which could take up to 6 spots to
So
create 4.
because it seems to have a very spacious parking lot.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just not sure, and so thus my question, will moving the blue spaces in there take him below what the code require, the zoning ordinance requires in terms of, but you don't know the exact.
Well, right now, and we've talked in community development, that we would not go into reviewing the number of spaces on his lot for his, for his restaurant, because that's the way that it has been for many, many years. But just creating the spaces in his lot would be the only requirement.
Very good, thank you.
I have some concerns with moving forward on this tonight. Just doing my due diligence before the meeting, I decided to go eyeball it myself, and when I was there, happened to have the opportunity to chat with the management there. They're all under the impression that this was already okayed and done. They had no idea this was on our agenda tonight, or that it might possibly not be granted to them. And so I think if we're inclined not to grant the license, we owe it to them just as a courtesy to postpone this and give them the appropriate opportunity to give us their perspective. Just eyeballing it myself, I don't see it as practical to move these handicap spots from right there next to their entrance, which is on the southwest corner of the building, to the parking lot, which is, a good 100 feet or so further east. The concern there is you have people with mobility issues, walkers trying to maneuver their way to the front door. It's not going to be a very practical solution for them. But that's just my thought. As Mr. Callahan indicated, this has been there for as long as anyone here in town can remember. We're not aware of any issues that have popped up from a safety standpoint, so it's more hypothetical than anything else. And I would hate to mess with their business here over hypothetical concerns as opposed to real concerns, where for 50 years plus, it has not been an issue.
Commissioner Dubak? Yeah, no, it's helpful insight. I have actually no problem with allowing the accessible spaces to remain there in the right-of-way, but the resolution does call for them to be upgraded. I'm curious if in Commissioner LeVasseur's conversation, if there's any indication that the property owner would have any issue with bringing them into compliance.
I have no idea in that perspective, but I think that would be appropriate to get them in here so we can have a little bit more discussion with them, make sure that they understand what issues there may be here still. They didn't seem to have the impression that there were any issues, any outstanding issues here.
So, yeah, like I said, I don't have a problem delaying it or passing it, but if we're going to allow them to remain in the right-of-way with the intent of them keeping their accessible parking there, I think it's reasonable to ask them to upgrade it to ADA compliance. And I think those are the only two options on the table. But I don't think we're in any rush if we need to interact with the business owner.
I'm looking at the aerial view that Commissioner Dubak has up on his computer. The only concern I have is that if we're going to be doing road improvements on Cambridge and bringing everything else up to code, and we don't require that this come up to code so that the cars will still have to back out, are we exposing ourselves to greater liability because we're creating, or at least allowing and condoning, a relatively unsafe traffic pattern for potential pedestrians and people who are going up and down Cambridge? That's a concern of mine. It's one thing to have just kind of let it be for the last 30 years. It's been longer than that. It's another thing to actually actively do other improvements in that area and not satisfy and improve the safety concerns on that particular corner. So that's a concern I have if we just kind of let it be the way it is, even if it comes up to ADA compliance. The backing out onto Cambridge really makes me nervous. That's the bottom line. Since we're going to be working there. I'm sorry, go ahead.
At what point do we, so did we notified them of this?
Yes, yes, and we called again it seems like all of our phone calls to the person that gave us, we've been working with, they seem to go to voicemail. We're not sure why we're not getting responded to, but.
So Commissioner LeVasseur, do you know who you spoke with? I mean, was it the right person?
There was two people I spoke to. There was a Chuck, who I believe signed the proposed licensing agreement, and that was over the phone. And then there was another gentleman who was actually on site managing. I want to say his name was Steve, but I could be mistaken on that.
Commissioner Macy?
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until our next meeting on April 22nd.
Motion by Commissioner Macy, is there a second? Second by Commissioner Dubak. Discussion? All right, with none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. We'll talk about it next time. All right, that brings us to the final item on our agenda. An item was added for a resolution for council to proceed as discussed in closed session regarding the Nolan workers' compensation case.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is a matter that is pending at the Workers' Compensation Bureau. It's scheduled for hearing in early May. We had a chance to review attorney-client privileged communication from Paula Murray, who's counsel for the city's workers' compensation claims manager, regarding that hearing and her strategy going forward. I would ask that the commission approve a resolution authorizing her to proceed as discussed in closed session tonight.
Questions for Mr. Gillum? Motions for the table, Commissioner Perush.
I'll move approval of the resolution.
Motion by Commissioner Perush, second by Commissioner Gibbs. Discussion? With none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion passes. This brings us to the end of our meeting. Notwithstanding any more actions for the betterment of our city, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Gibbs?
I move to.
Move to adjourn.
Close.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Macy. Any lengthy discussion on this motion?
Well, let me just say that,
I'll just add.
Steal your
With none,
thunder.
I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, the motion passes. We're adjourned.